each person to follow. And we also need to mention M-Pesa in Kenya, initiated by Safari, the Safari group. Today's M-Pesa is almost in it's in another, I think about 10 different countries, including Afghanistan, Romania, Albania, and so on. Invested in and owned about 64% by Vodafone. I think that's a UK company. But this company would not have found something to invest in if that initiative didn't take off. And there are several others. M-Pesa has M-Kopa and SportPesa. There's a lady called Bethlehem Tilahu of Ethiopia. And she started with a Soul Rebel. Soul Rebel, they using tires, used tires, wasted tires, I believe. I come from the remote part of Nigeria. And so back in the village where I come from, they had a way of stacking those rubber tires. When they are used and wasted, nobody could use them, or nobody has ever thought anything could come out of used rubber, wasted tire rubbers, stacked in the corner. But this is exactly what Bethlehem has done, creating soul rubber shoes, exporting to 30 countries as we speak today. That's what entrepreneurship is about: generating revenue, employing thousands of people, creating jobs, paying taxes to government. This is what entrepreneurship, the journey of entrepreneurship means. And this is what I believe, that the change that Africa requires should come from young entrepreneurs, young people, people in the diaspora like you and I. Esther Kunda of Rwanda, Ihe Tech, is also another example of what M-Pesa has done. And she's from Rwanda. And we have several examples like that to show that this is doable. Remember, 80% of the economies of the West is controlled by all of these entrepreneurs, small, SMEs, small and medium enterprises, entrepreneurs, people who think outside the box, people who think solutions, and they bring the solution to the table. Of course, the difference sometimes is that there's a fund, a dedicated fund sometimes, for some of these groups to thrive, to work with and to thrive. But the 80%, this group, drive the economies of the West. That is exactly what I believe should be replicated in Africa generally. As we speak today, more than 70% of most African economies is driven by the public sector, the government controlling oil, controlling power, controlling housing, making regulations. The regulatory framework needs to change. It needs to change, and the environment needs to be created for people to flourish and to work effectively, to raise capital, so that you don't need an arm and a leg before you can raise capital or raise some loans. Why do I say this is possible? I cite the example of the splash wall that we started also, and that is why it's important for people like you and I in the room today to make the necessary connections, particularly while we're at school. In our postgraduate days, in our undergrad days, this is the time to do it. Because when you get the dream, and when the dream comes up, and when the vision is very clear, and you rally people around your vision, then you need the people around you who know you so well, or who you related and interacted effectively with while you were back in school. And what this group of people do is, when you have that initial idea and you do not know who to run to, they become your ecosystem, the support system, your tribe, the people that support you initially. And when we got that initial idea that there is no single water path in the whole of West Africa that is effective, that people can actually run to instead of running out here to Disney World, and we wanted to replicate that in the part of Africa. And we thought about doing that. We just did not know who could help us with $10 million or who we could run to, because we weren't quite known in the market. And it will be a cutthroat rate if you actually approached any of the local but indigenous banks, because that's just the way things are done. And so we were looking for people who will invest in those companies, in the venture, and provide the initial capital to get started with, and so on. And the comfort zone that we could find were the people that we were in school with, the people who knew us so well, the people who knew our propensities, the people who knew our character, the people who knew what we were able to do and how we managed through adversity. Maybe we had challenges back in school. How did we come out of those challenges and how did we stand? And they were the only ones that could trust us when we took the proposals to them. The banks were willing, but the rates were wrong. Nobody could survive with those types of rates. And so we were able to identify some of those guys, and they were the ones, particularly the people in diaspora, were the ones who, because they have a connection to homeland, who, because they knew us so well, and who, because they could relate to, they could relate the proposal that was presented to what they had seen here, and they were able to quickly put that together. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I said we're able to pull this through because some of the things that we have experienced in the journey so far, and because of some of the people that we have been able to call on to support some of the initiatives that we have. In this room today, I'm sure we have so many of these initiatives, and without you, I'm not sure that Africa can get to its next level. There is a resurgence. It can't be done by the public sector the way it's currently structured. At 80%, everything being driven, almost 70–80% by the public sector. There is a need for the private sector to get readily, involved and aggressively involved, actually, if I may say so. The time is now. That change that we're looking for must start with us, like Barack Obama said. The change we're looking for, it starts with you, and the time is now. The time is now. Thank you very much for your attention, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Dr. Olutoyin. Those are very inspiring words. Just to restate some of